day 16 in skills, so that means today is Wednesday, April 15th. And we're going to start off today's lesson with our reader story, The Storm. And this is in our reader book, so you would find it online on your online reader on page, 26. But I've got it up on the board, so we'll read it all together like we always do. Before we get into the story, though, you're going to see some spellings that we have recently learned. You're going to see some spellings with the N sound spelled K-N as in knees, knock, and kneeling. You're going to hear the S sound spelled with a C, C-E, as in winces, place, and voice. You're going to see the S sound spelled with S-E as in house. And you're going to see the K sound spelled with a C-K, which we learned that way back in ducks, blocked, and knock. We're also going to have some two-syllable words, and we've been practicing syllables before school was closed back in January. You're going to hear thunder, darkness, scamper, and shelter. And remember, syllables are counted by the vowel sounds we hear. All right, let's go over some vocabulary. You're going to hear blocked out, and that means in front of something so it cannot be seen. Right now, I'm blocking out parts of our reader story because I'm in front of it. So blocked out is when you stand in front of something so it can't be seen. Scamper. Scamper means to run or move quickly. Shelter. Shelter is a place that covers or protects people and animals, which we learned about shelter earlier this year too. Winces. If someone winces, it means they make a pained face or a scared face. So if you mash your finger in a door, you may wince, or if you fall, you may wince if it hurts a little bit, or if you're afraid. If something scares you, you may wince. All right, so let's get into the storm. The storm. There is a big storm on the farm. Dark clouds have blocked out the moon and stars. Thunder booms in the darkness. Gusts of wind sweep past the barn. Grace is in bed with the book she got at the yard sale. She is not scared of the thunder. In fact, she likes it. She sleeps better when there is a storm. But Jill is not as brave as Grace. Just as Grace is drifting off to sleep, her sister yells in a scared voice. Grace jumps out of bed and runs into Jill's room. Jill is sitting up in her bed. She is weeping and grabbing her legs. She winces when the thunder booms. Her knees knock when the wind gusts. So she doesn't like storms at all. Let me show you that picture. There's our picture. Jill looks very afraid. What's the matter, Jill? Grace asks, kneeling next to the bed. I'm scared, says Jill. Grace hugs her sister and sits next to her on the bed. It's just a summer storm. We will be safe inside the house. Her big sister's words make Jill feel better. The hug helps too, but there is still one thing that has her scared. The ducks, she says, will they be safe out in the storm? Yes, Grace says, those ducks are smart. When the thunder booms, they will scamper off and take shelter. They will be just fine. Jill smiles and says, I am glad the ducks have a safe place to run to in the storm. That makes me feel better. Let's see if we can find the picture. There it is. So Jill's feeling better knowing the ducks are safe. All right. Now we're going to work on our questions. So if you will find your kitty cat book and pull out page 12.1. You don't have to tear it out, just turn to it. Page 12.1, and it says at the top, the storm. All right. we go. That's a little bigger. All right, page 12.1, the storm. Number 1, describe the storm on the farm. Describe the storm on the farm. So remember, when we describe something, we usually will make a list, and when we do that, we have to use commas. All right. So number 1, describe the storm on the farm. We remember the storm had dark clouds, thunder, and gusts of wind. So we will start out with the storm, capital T, the storm had dark clouds, comma, because this is where I'm starting my list. The storm had dark clouds, thunder, comma, because I'm still in my list, and gusts, plural, more than one gust, gusts of wind. Period at the end. Describe the storm on the farm. The storm had dark clouds, thunder, and gusts of wind. We're not worried about what page it's on because we're using the online version. All right, number 2. Did Grace like the storm? Well, Grace did like the storm because in the story it tells us that Grace sleeps better when there's a storm. Remember, Jill didn't like the storm, but Grace did. So, did Grace like the storm? We will start with yes, comma, Grace with a capital G because that's a proper noun, that's her name, and names start with the capital. Yes, Grace liked the storm and let's tell why. It didn't ask why, but let's tell why. Because, B-E-C-A-U-S-E, because she sleeps better when there is a storm. And that's what our reader story told us. She sleeps better when there is a storm, period. So we learned as we read that Grace does like the storm because she sleeps better when there is a storm. All right, good job, guys. Flip your page over. Try to get all that on there. There we go. Number 3. Did Jill like the storm? Jill did not like the storm. How do we know Jill did not like the storm? Jill was wincing at the thunder when it booms, and as we read, it said her knees knocked when the wind was gusting. So we will say Jill, capital J, did not like the storm. And let's put a period. And then let's tell why, but instead of saying because, we're going to use a pronoun gust. Period. Did Jill like the storm? Jill did not like the storm. She winced when the thunder boomed, and her knees knocked when the wind would gust. Your answer does not have to match mine perfectly. As long as your answer is complete, as a complete sentence, and the correct answer, as long as it's accurate, you can answer it however you want to, as long as it's the right answer. You don't have to word it like this, okay? But I do want a complete sentence. I want it to make sense, have capitals and punctuation, neat handwriting with finger spaces, spell your words correctly, okay? So did Jill like the storm? Jill did not like the storm. She winced when the thunder boomed, and her knees knocked when the wind would gust. Number 4. What did Grace tell Jill to make her feel better? Remember, Jill was worried about the ducks. What did Grace tell Jill about the ducks to make her feel better? Good job. Grace tells Jill that the ducks take shelter in the barn and that they'll be just fine, okay? So let's put that in a complete sentence. What did Grace tell Jill? Grace tells Jill that the ducks take shelter and will be just fine. And at the end is our period. Now, if you say, Grace tells Jill that the ducks will take shelter in the barn, that's perfectly fine too. You don't have to match my answer word for word. I want your answer to be correct, but it doesn't have to say exactly what mine does. I want to see capitals, punctuation, neat handwriting, finger spaces, and spell your words correctly, okay? What did Grace tell Jill to make her feel better? Grace tells Jill that the ducks take shelter and will be just fine, and that makes Jill feel better. All right, good job, guys. We have one more activity to go with this lesson, and it is a quick review of how to make words plural. We worked on this before school was closed, but not very much. We are reviewing how to make words plural, which means we have more than one. So I have some nouns listed here. I have some nouns listed, and we're going to make our nouns plural. Now, sometimes, actually most of the time, when we make a word plural, we just add an S. Most of the time, okay? But if the word ends in S, X, CH, or SH, you add an ES. And I cut it off a little bit. Let me back that out a little so you can see it. There we go. All right. So if a word ends with S, X, CH, or SH, we add an ES. And you will hear that, and you'll know what I mean by that in just a minute as we work through these. All right. So our first word, cat. If I had more than one cat, would I add S or ES? Well, let's say the word cats. Cats, I would just add an S. I started to write my S first, which is not what we do. Cats. All right, what about dog? If I have more than one dog, I have dog. I just add an S. Now, say dogs out loud right now. Say it with me. Dogs. It sounds like that should be a Z because the S in dogs makes the Z sound. But when we make a word plural, we don't make a word plural by adding a Z. We make a word plural by adding an S or an ES, okay? So if you write the word dogs and you hear a Z at the end, that's a little tricky. It's not supposed to be a Z, it's actually supposed to be an S because when we make a word plural, we either add S or ES, okay? Fox. If I have more than one fox, if I have 5 foxes, you'll hear it. If I have 5 foxes, I add an ES because if a word ends in X, S, CH, or SH, I have to add an ES. But when I say foxes, I can hear that ES. So you kind of get a hint so that you'll know when to add an ES. You can hear it. You can hear that ES in foxes. Okay? It has a little buzzy Z at the end, but like I said, when we make a word plural, we do not use a Z. Okay? Even if we hear a Z, we're not adding a Z. We're using S or ES. Foxes. Fox is. Foxes. Shark. Shark. One shark. 2 sharks would be sharks. I don't hear an ES, and it doesn't end in an S, an X, a CH, or an SH, so I just add an S for sharks. All right. Let's mark fork out, and let's do dress. Okay, I have 1 dress or 5 dresses. Say that again. Say it out loud with me. Dresses. We have an S at the end, so we have to add an ES. But when we say the word dresses, we can hear that ES at the end. So that's our hint on whether we need to add an S or an ES. We hear it. Dresses. We hear that ES, so we add the ES. Kid. If I have 1 kid, it's just kid. If I have 2 kids, it's kids. I'm going to add an S. Now, if you say the word kids, it sounds like a Z at the end. We don't add Z. When we make a plural, we add an S. Kids. Dish. If I have 1 dish, it's just dish. But if I have 2 dishes, you can hear it. It ends in an SH, so we have to add ES. But we can hear it when we write it and say it. Dishes. We know that we add an ES because it's plural and it ends in an SH. Dishes. And when you write it, you can hear it. You can hear that ES on the end. All right, porch. You may have 1 porch at home, or you may have 2 porches. It ends in CH, so we need to add an ES. Porches. And we can hear that on the end. We don't say porches. We say porches. All right, last one. Box. I can have 1 box. Or I can have 6, say it with me, boxes. It ends with an X, so we have to add ES, and we can hear that ES on the end of that word when we say it. When we say boxes, we can hear that ES at the end, okay? And that was just a quick review to help you remember how we make a word plural. We either add S or ES. Even if it sounds like a Z, it's going to be an S. When we make it plural, that means more than 1, okay? And you can practice this some more with your parents if you would like to. You can use different words, whatever you would like to do. This was just a quick review for you. So before we finish, let's quickly go over our spelling words again. These are our spelling words for this week. We went over them yesterday, but we'll quickly go over them again today. Remember to do your spelling activities. Just do 3 a week. Whichever activity you want to do is fine. You can be creative with that. Max, mice, hammer, trimmed, skipped, scrub, space,